Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 97 of the Tiki Taka podcast. Thankfully, we managed to start it without a problem. Cough, bloom, cough. Anyway, I'm your host, Peter, today joined by Patrick.
Hello, guys.
Cynthia.
Hi.
And Bruno is back, unfortunately.
It's back, unfortunately. Epá, é campeão. Ouve lá. Já ouviste esta? Chora o Vitória. Chora o Vieira. Penta chau, penta chau, penta chau, chau, chau.
Aren't you supposed to be celebrating your
champions.
win? Are you celebrating your win or are you celebrating our loss? I can't really.
They're
Epá,
more
it's
Asian.
both.
You know what? Champions or not, sweetheart, you're not a very good singer.
I don't give a shit if I'm a good singer or not. The bottom line is this.
Swear word, right?
The bottom line is this. Peter swore up and down that he was going to be champion this year.
Yeah, and
He's going to be pentacampeão.
Yeah? So what's wrong with that?
He was more than convinced that they were going to win the league title.
Well,
You win the league
that?
title, bud, or no?
But what's wrong with
Did
that?
you win the league title or
No,
not?
we didn't.
What have
What's
you
wrong
guys
with
been
you
saying
taking
for the
down-
last 4 years when we had a tetra? You said you were going to stop us every year. You're
Não
all-
é tetra,
you're all allowed
é
to have
treta.
delusional-
Treta.
All of us are allowed to be delusional sometimes, so whatevs.
I mean,
We'll
I
get you
was
back next year.
delusional. We were on a roll. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
I know.
It was like I was-
You were on a roll until Herrera ended that roll real quick.
Oh, that piece of shit.
yeah.
Which
That
I'd like
That
to remind
thunderstruck.
you guys,
All thanks to
wanted kill
Mario,
him.
by the way.
Awesome.
Mario, once again, thank you very much. Keep handshaking all the Porto players every year you go to Portugal.
The wound scene.
No. But I'll tell you right now, you guys wanted to kill him. You guys wanted his friggin'
Kill
head,
who?
so it just shows you guys. Herrera,
Most
at the end of
important.
last season, you guys were awful.
Well, but at the end of the
Well,
day, we all know how you guys
well.
won these last 4 years. So,
Mhm.
or
How is that?
we'll say the last
Same way you won
5
this year?
titles that you had.
Mm-hmm.
Emails do run all the way till 2008.
Binta Costa's still alive. Let's check all the way to his birth certificate, sweetheart. I don't think his years are clean. We can go back and forth.
According to courts, they're clean.
Could go there.
Oh, yeah, okay. Because he couldn't pay those
According
off,
to
too.
courts, they're clean.
Listen, tell me about your game, because I sure shit didn't watch.
yeah.
Well, I was there.
Segue.
Mhm.
I can tell you, I was there for the Fade-Ins game, and there's nothing better in the world than to actually experience your team lift the trophy in person. I do recommend anybody that is out there that listens to us that if you have the means to afford an opportunity to experience something like that, you definitely do it. I mean, it's a lifetime of memories. There's nothing like it, like celebrating in Portugal. I mean, I know Cynthia's from Toronto and Patrick's from England and I'm from New Jersey, and there's nothing like it, like you're celebrating over there. And then you hear all these people talking about when Benfica goes and they go to Marquês de Pombal, blah blah blah. Dude, I was at Aliage. I watched the Guimarães game at the Aliage. Because of logistics, I wouldn't have been able to get into the city, so I just decided to watch it in the Aliage with 250,000 people. They were only expecting 100,000. 250,000 people came out to watch the games, and it was again one experience of a lifetime. So, like I said, if you guys have the opportunity, if you have the means, or it's something that you want to really truly experience, save your pennies and make sure you do something like that because it's worth every second.
Okay. Well, about the game though.
About the game,
It was nice
You
what he
won.
said. I actually agree with him. Congratulations. I think that's
Marcano
quite-
won. Well, I'm glad that you congratulated me. Thank you very much, Cynthia.
Oh,
I
was
see that
actually
you're not a sore
congratulating
loser.
I'm glad you didn't listen to last week's podcast, or if you did, I'm not
Actually, yeah.
apologizing.
Don't listen. It's not nice.
I ain't apologizing.
You didn't listen?
No, she
Oh, I
did.
did listen. That's why I'm
He
saying
was live.
you
with-
don't. You shouldn't.
Well, as for the game, I'll talk to the game. Vana was the goalkeeper. Maxi, Felipe, Marcano, and Dels. Marcano scoring his last goal potentially for Porto. You have Oliver Torres, Herrera, Corona, and Brahimi, Marega, and Gusal Pansisi up top. Fabiano eventually came in to also be champion for the last 15 minutes. Nothing more to say. It was two teams that were just looking to close out the season, nothing to really play for, other than Porto trying to equal the 88 points. That was a record. They did it. Porto was the better team. Porto should have could have scored a couple more goals. At the end of the day, Guimarães was never really a threat. Porto came out champion, a deserved champion. No more Pinto. You guys can stick the pins where I know, somewhere where I know.
Try to be
And,
humble. Try to be humble.
Okay, where the sun don't shine, my friend.
Try to be humble.
And and Peter can continue to look at his red velvet poster and
cry
have a lot of
himself to
fun
sleep at night.
cry himself to sleep with happy and sad tissues.
I don't need to cry myself to sleep. I'll be very happy.
What? Happy and sad tissues?
We don't want to know. Don't go into this. We don't want to know. That's too much.
There you go. See, now you know how to shut up, Bruno. Gotta figure out a little bit of tactics. You'll start to get the hang of it.
You're nasty.
Anyway, I don't know if anybody else wasted their time watching this film. I mean, no offense to you, Bruno, but I don't think anybody else but Porto fans would watch this.
I watched it.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
That's a true soccer fan right there.
What do you say? It's not soccer, bro. Come on.
Bruno was pretty much spot on. It was one of those games where, obviously, Guimarães probably, with a win, they wouldn't have changed much of their look on the table. Probably gone up 1 or 2 spots, I think. But realistically, for a club like that, when they're looking for Europa League qualification, they're a long way. They were a long way off that, and so it was a bit of a, I wouldn't say dead
one
rubber,
spot, Patrick. They
well,
would have beaten out. They would have beaten out Boavista for the 8th spot if they had won.
But that's pretty much what I'm saying. Obviously, Porto coming into that game, they would have wanted to close out the season on a win and all that. But there was moments of the game where it lacked that general intensity. Still, I thought Guimarães were actually, I wouldn't say the better side, but they did have the best 2 chances of the game. Between the first half hour, I think there was one chance with Rafael Martins where he goes through on goal, and obviously it comes to his left foot. I don't think it's his strongest foot, and he manages to drag a shot wide across goal. And there was another chance as well for Alessandro Wakaso that he managed to hit in to Vanna, which obviously, 2 good chances, and Guimarães might get an early goal. And when the team like that gets an early goal, it can change the style of the game quite drastically. But it never happened for them. I don't think Porto were at their best creating their chances, and but at the end of the day, it didn't matter because they get a set piece, and as we know, as we've said many times on this podcast, even set pieces are a potent weapon that Porto possessed this year. Again, Alex Delge, the guy creating the chance there, putting it on the plate for Marcano, who heads home quite well, and Porto get a win, end the season well, as they would have liked. So all I can do is, well done to Porto, and see you next season.
All right. So unless anybody wants to say anything else about this game, I think we can move on from it. Good. I'll take that as a yes. All right. Well, let's get into another extremely boring game. I believe all 3 games were pretty boring from what I know about the Sporting one. But anyway, let's get into Benfica Moreirense first, and then we'll get to the Sporting one, because I'm pretty sure we're going to end up going on a tangent on that one because there's so much to talk about. Anyway, Benfica beat Moreirense 1-0 thanks to Jonas' goal via the penalty spot. We'll get to the penalty, but I don't think there's a lot of doubt there. But anyway, Bruno Varela was in goal, Douglas, Luizão, Ruben Dias, and Grimaldo across the back. Salvio, Pizzi, Feza, Servi, Zivkovic in the midfield, with Jonas making his return starting up top. Cynthia, I'll let you go first because I've been going first for the past 2 weeks or so. What did you think about this game? I mean, we gotta switch it off,
I'm laughing at you saying you've gone first entirely too often for the last bit. I'm like, story of your life. Anyways, exactly. So I was at the game. We went to the luge, and we went with Timo, his family. Who else did we go? Pete was there. Mariana, Magda, and Diogo were all near us. So it was fantastic. Bruno, you've got to mute your mic, silly. Something's wrong with you. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. I'm vibrating.
Doing it on the spot.
Awkward.
I'm vibrating.
Oh, yeah. You guys are too much.
It's Peter with his messages.
Well, it's totally me. It's my fault. Let's start that hashtag now.
I need that cash call. But yeah, so we were there. It was insane, I thought. We were on Pizu, so I could see the no-names, I could see the Diabs, and I could see the pie of the Moreirense fans. And we actually heard them twice because we were pretty close, and only a couple of times did we actually get quiet enough in the luge. Other than that, it was just a silly game. There were so many chances that we had, and they couldn't capitalize, which I believe is just the name of the season. Like, it's missed chances everywhere. And then eventually that penalty came up for us, and I believe it was a correct call. I couldn't see the replay just because we were screaming at each other anyways. Like, I was beside Mario and Pete and them, and so we were just screaming like crazies. But yeah, we got the penalty call. There were a few calls that I thought he did not do for both teams. It went both ways. But for me, I don't think the ref did a good job at all. And I know that's, again, the story of the season for the Liga, right? So other than that, I thought it was a great atmosphere. We went down, we met all the Benfica we wanted to meet. And it was, for us, it was a once in a lifetime. So that's what I agree with Bruno is if you're able to, just go for it. You know what I mean? It's worth it. Even though we got second, it's worth it.
All right. Well, I don't have much to add. Just to say that it was a very uneventful game. Benfica weren't at their best, but they definitely controlled the game, and it's just really difficult to create opportunities when your team's being slow and the opponent is defending, with everything they got, because that's what they were doing. With
everything. I would actually count them, and they were all in the box as soon as we got in there. It was insane.
Yeah, they had like a back line of seven guys on, they were doing the
whole time.
Yeah. So it was really difficult to create opportunities. We had a few, nothing major, but you felt like it was either going to end as a 0-0 or 1-0. But we ended up getting the penalty call, which I think the dude had a bit of a brain freeze. I mean, he was doing his job. He had his arms behind his back, and then he just suddenly lets them go and. Obviously that's a penalty, and Jonas converts, and we win the game. 1-0, very difficult, very boring game, mostly because Moreirense came out there to get the tie, and they almost got it, but
to just sit there, literally to just sit there. I do have Josie on the live chat, and he's making me laugh because he's mentioning something that I forgot. I actually counted how many times Varela saved or even touched the ball, and I'm pretty sure he was like 4 or 5 touches, and the joke that we had was he was 5 out of 5 this game. So he had a shutout. So good for him. Work on that confidence. Keep doing it.
Too bad it won't be there to continue it next season. We'll see. All right. So I don't know. I don't think, unless Bruno watched this game, I don't think anybody else watched it.
I do want to get your opinion on the Luizão. Is that a red card there, Peter?
I don't freaking know what play. Like, honestly, I barely remember the game.
Where he gets a yellow card, should that have been a red?
Remember, try and make.
Oh, when he took out a dude.
What was
I
the play?
think he was the no, he took I
Yeah.
remember
That's a definite.
'cause he
Oh,
took him out
yeah,
because
yeah.
he's an
That's
old
a
guy.
definite red. Yeah, I said it was a red. I said it was a red to my dad. I thought it should be sent off. I was kind of. I was like, please send him off, but he didn't, unfortunately. But that's a definite red. I don't
Okay,
think
and then
I don't think Ruben Diaz is close enough, or the other guy is close enough to Luizon to be considered two guys. I think
No, it was
he's
a
the last
single.
man. I think
That
he's
was
definitely.
actually right on the line that I was sitting at.
Yeah, I think that's a definite.
that's why the guy fell.
I did a little witchcraft.
Your Curly Sue craft.
Should have
No,
been
I
there
think
earlier
it's
against Herrera,
definitely-
damn it.
As for the penalty, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not a penalty. That please don't misinterpret it. But one thing I will say is this: I never saw. I usually see players that have their arms out wide, and then they put their arms behind their back. Now, when you have your arms behind your back, and then you take your arms out wide, and then you show up on social media with a Benfica jersey, that's a little suspect.
Yeah, it
But
is.
that's just me. I'm pretty sure Patrick will understand. Yeah,
I can
I don't know
understand
if you can
too,
hear me.
jackass. Come on it.
I don't know if you can
well,
hear me in the cell.
At least he wasn't one of those that went talk shit to beat up the Sporting guys.
Well, he's in
Hey,
the cell
I mean,
now,
I don't
so
know. He might
he
you don't
said.
know that.
But Bruno said we lost millions in that. We lost millions in that loss. So maybe they like money.
All right. Well, with that said, it was a pretty boring game, and Benfica get the win, thankfully, to close out the season. Not as eventful as I thought it was going to be, but it is what it is. 3 points, all that matters, enough to guarantee us Champions League.
Let's hope we do something more than we did this year, because that would be nice.
Maybe get to the group stage first.
Maybe get a point. That would be great.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That's a good point, Peter, because the red press media in Portugal already have you guys guaranteed in the group stage.
Guaranteed.
We kind of forget to inform our fans that one, you have a qualifier, and then you have a playoff. So hit the brakes. No one has made Champions League yet. There's still some teams to play against before you actually count those 40 million.
Yeah, is it
Easy.
likely? Is it likely? Yeah, but is there a chance we don't make it? Yeah. So I agree with you. All right. So with that said, let's get to Sporting and Patrick.
Hold on, Patrick hasn't gotten his opportunity.
I don't know if you watched this.
He might have
I'm
watched the
pretty
game.
sure
Just
How?
asked.
I didn't see the game, obviously, because Sporting was on at the same time. But I did see the goals and all that. And Benfica certainly looked a better team in the first half. For the second half, from the highlights, it looked like the game lost its quality a bit. But obviously, Benfica get the penalty, get 1-0, get a 1-0 lead. And, from there, you're only expecting one thing, and that's Benfica to hold on to their win and perhaps add more if Moreirense come out of their shell. But 1-0 was enough for you guys, and yeah.
No, they didn't come out of their shell. They stayed in there.
Yeah,
seriously, it was like 10 men in the back all the time.
A shout out to Rui Vitória, by the way. After all the disrespect.
All right, cool, Patrick, cool. So you happy, Bruno, that he's got his input in the game?
I knew he had a comment, but you have to ask the guy first, because now we're going to go on a Sporting run. You're going to have the diarrhea of the mouth, and you got to take it easy.
I like how you're telling other people to take it easy.
All right. Anyway, with that said, let's get on to Sporting then.
Okay then. So Sporting played their strongest team for this one against Marítimo. Patricio in goal, Coentrão, Mathieu, Coates and Piccini at the back. Midfield of William, Bataglia and Bruno Fernandes on the wings. Marcos Acuna and Gelson. Up front we had Dost. And it was a game where I don't think Marítimo came into the game as tight as they would have liked. And there was moments where Sporting were actually finding spaces to attack and perhaps just lacked that that bit of cutting edge to actually make some chances stick together and perhaps even score an early goal and see what happens from there. But that sort of cutting edge just wasn't with us. And as the first half progressed, Maritimo tightened up, and that they suddenly became a lot more organised and became the side that we saw create a bunch of difficulties to when they played Porto or Benfica a lot earlier in the season. And when you couple that with the way Sporting then began to play, which was weird. It was alongside this result that we got against Benfica, in terms of the display that we put on, it was perhaps the worst performance that we've seen from Sporting. Everything was very, very flat. There was no intensity. The players were taking 3-4 seconds longer to make a pass, and when you do that against a team that's organised like Maritimo, eventually you get nowhere, like we did. And then as the game goes on, you start making silly decisions to cross when perhaps you shouldn't cross, or to shoot when you shouldn't shoot, and nothing really glued together. I did mention last week, we spoke about it briefly, the inclusion of Piccini and William against Benfica, two players that are coming back from injury. Obviously, I said at the time you could understand why William would have played, being one of the best players in the squad, also one of the few players in Sporting's midfield who's able to receive the ball and get possession circulating from midfield. I don't think players like Battaglia and all that have those capabilities, but perhaps against Maritimo, knowing that William was so poor against Benfica physically, as was Piccini, perhaps they could revert back to playing Ristovski and perhaps bringing Brian Ruiz back into midfield. Against a side like Maritimo, you have to expect a certain level of superiority, and I think we didn't do that. We played William, we played Piccini, who had a terrible game, unfortunately, perhaps out of his hands. And so from there, with those two inclusions, and Mathieu obviously wasn't at his best either. From those standpoints, I don't think Sporting could ever really get going physically and to play with the intensity that Jorge Jesus' side would like. And I don't know. It was just a really disappointing performance, and a difficult one to take as well, because you couple it with Sporting going from second back to third, and obviously you get no Champions League football. Benfica, the team that gets second, it's a nasty combination for Sporting to take, and obviously at the very end of the season, it's always an even bigger blow because you can't do anything about it from then on. So yeah, it's a disappointing display. Obviously, I would have liked Jesus to in whatever way he felt, to have decided to change the squad up a bit in the manner that I've said, probably play Bro Ruiz or Ristovski. And then it was also pretty frustrating to see three strikers all of a sudden up front, and then limited creativity. I think I said a few pods back, I don't like to see my teams like launch strikers on and then forget, oh wait, how are we actually going to create? How are we actually going to build a structure to win? Sporting threw that completely out the window against Maritimo, and obviously in such a big game like it was just very disappointing to see, and understandable that many fans are upset with how everything worked out.
All right, so I just want to say that you touched on something that I said with Benfica, and it makes perfect sense. It's ridiculous to put in an extra striker when you're not getting the service, because they're strikers. They're going to be in a box. They're not going to create the opportunities. So if you're lacking opportunities, you put in an extra midfielder to help you create said opportunities. With that said, the only thing that I want to say about this game, was that I wasn't watching the game, but I was keeping an eye out on the scoreline, and obviously I had the stats next to me. And Sporting dominated the possession like a lot. It was a difference of like 30% of points. So I assumed that the game was just as boring as the Benfica one, with just Sporting controlling the possession for most of it, but not many chances coming out of it.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, Maritimo were obviously interested in, stifling Sporting, and what happens a lot of times is little teams sort of surrender possession and say, "Look, come break us down." And obviously, stats will suggest Sporting had a large portion of possession, but it's that old debate, that counter argument. It's what you do with possession that counts, and although I am a believer that possession is very important in football, if you don't do anything with it, then in the way that Sporting did, if you don't do anything with it, then it's fruitless, and that's what it was on the day for Sporting. We just didn't move the ball about quick enough, and I don't know, we just looked very flat and void of appetite in this game. It was just disappointing to see, because we've lost games, which is always disappointing to lose. We've lost games throughout this season, but there was always that bit of motivation for the next game to think, right, next week we'll get it right or whatever, and we were just unlucky this week. But against Maritimo, it was just like, I don't know, it felt like, I don't want to say that the players just weren't focused or anything like that, because it's been a physically demanding season and psychologically as well. But for sure, I think like there was a bad energy there that just reared its head at the wrong time for us, and now we're going to pay the consequence of obviously not getting our chance at Champions League football and the financial reward that it brings, and we have to think closely about our squad for next season, and perhaps shape it, move a few pieces about.
Before I let the other guys weigh in, I just want to get the question from Josie out of the way, because it's pretty relevant to the game. So he just wanted, and I know that you saw it because you answered it, but he asked, I want to know how Jorge Jesus screwed Sporting over following the Maritimo laws in specific details and not in generalities. I saw way too many Sporting fans on Sunday saying that JJ screwed Sporting over. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, as I said, to me, the only way that he would have screwed it over is obviously having seen the condition that William was in against Benfica and Piccini as well, and obviously he would have followed their progress in training. I know it's difficult to tell in training whether a player is fully fit or whether he's just saving his energies for the game, but he must have known that it was a huge gamble to put those two players in particular on the pitch. He could have played one of them and played another guy like Rostovsky or vice versa, but he chose to play both of them, and perhaps had it not been for Piccini's injury, he probably would have played the full 90 minutes, which to me it is where I obviously point the finger at Jesus. But I wouldn't put the entire thing. As I said, there was a bad energy about Sporting's performance, and sometimes for managers that can be very difficult. Very difficult to change. We've all seen our teams play miserably, and to the point where the manager literally can't do anything. He tries all his motivational tricks, and nothing seems to come off for him. Perhaps it was one of those days for Jesus, but obviously the 2 points that really disappointed me was obviously the inclusions of William and Piccini instead of Rostovsky and perhaps Brian Ruiz, and then obviously when Sporting are trying to get a result, he sacrificed the structure of the team creatively to play for his strikers, which turned out to be counterproductive. Those are the two big no-nos that I could throw at Jesus coming away from this game.
All right. So, Cynthia, what do you want to add to what Patrick's been saying?
I didn't watch the game live, obviously, and I haven't even had a chance to get the highlights and stuff. Sorry, buddy.
All right. So
But I
you
have
should.
seen all the haters, and the only thing I did want to mention, because I saw the haters about JJ and I saw the haters about Rui Patricio, and I just wanted to like remind everybody, Rui Patricio is also our national goalie, and I think he's fantastic. This reminds me of like people hating on Louis L. He deserves respect. Yes, he may be getting older, but you know what? Stop being delusional. He's had a frungu like what, once a season? He always does this. And I was hoping he would have it during the game against Benfica. He didn't. And I told Mario, well, he's due one. So one's going to happen. And unlucky for all of you guys, apparently it was in the last minute of the last game. You know what I mean? But I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure he always does one a season. So let's just get over this. Oh no, he's the best in the world. Uh, with our team, yes, for the Portuguese national team, but with Sporting, he has had these mistakes in the past. So let's not be delusional. And then with JJ, we all know he was a stubborn ass man when he was on Benfica, and he continues to be himself. So putting the blame on them fully, no, I don't. I don't think so. Again, like I've said this entire season for everyone, I think that there have been calls for or against and non calls that have impacted points. Whether or not people want to say, oh, you can't just blame the refs, I'm not, but there are some that they really did impact the game and then outcomes. Smaller teams get screwed more because they're closer to relegation. And for us, top three, it's the difference between winning and losing, right? So, and that's it. So, I don't know. People need to take it easy, like my TT always says. And I don't blame Rui Patricio and even with JJ. I know sometimes you can make a coaching mistake, but these guys are human. Like y'all on your FIFA game, you make mistakes. So don't sit here and tell me otherwise.
To add to your point before we get to Bruno, I just want to say that even if Patricio hadn't messed up, it wouldn't have mattered. The only thing that would have mattered would be that there would be a 2 point difference instead of three.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, because it was a tie, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind
But
of.
I mean, he has always let in a frung, right? Like we can YouTube this. There are videos of him making frungs. Like I'm
I
not
think
being
he
a
had
jerk.
one against Porto last year or something.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure he has one a season. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying he does.
Yeah, I mean that's
Like,
just the nature of a goalkeeper. I think every
Yeah.
top goalkeeper makes mistakes.
Yeah, the better
from time
goalkeepers
to
make
time.
less mistakes.
And obviously, it was a bad mistake to make. But we're talking about Rui Patricio. One of Sporting's best performers this season is.
for sure.
We've had games where perhaps the
He has
scoreline would have
saved
been
you.
different had it not been for the guy.
yeah.
So
Just the
utmost
week
respect
before.
for on performances alone. Utmost respect. That's what I give him, and obviously
Yeah.
it was disappointing to see at the end of the game that he was obviously a target. Must have been a target of insults, which would have been
for
why
sure.
he thought, right, I'm not going to go right up to these guys and put up with the stuff that they're spewing. So, rightly so, he did a U-turn and walked straight back down the tunnel. It's as a Sporting fan and as someone who, when he burst onto the scene, a lot of people said he was a great goalkeeper, and I really didn't rate him. But as the years have gone on, he's really improved and won me over. I think he's a great professional as well.
He really is. I agree with you, man. Everything you're saying.
It's really upsetting. It's really upsetting to see Sporting turn on a player like that. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the great Sporting players and how proud we are of the players that have come through our academy, from Ronaldo to Quaresma, Nani, Figo, Patricio is one of them. He's played. He's right up there for appearances, and wherever he goes, should he leave this summer, he carries Sporting. He carries a bit of Sporting on his back. That's a bit of history that Sporting have right there. So to tarnish that in a way that certain fans did at the end of the game, it's just really disappointing to see, and not the end that not the end that a goalkeeper like that, a figure like that deserves.
Yeah, you're right, man.
I just want to say before we get to Bruno once again. But I'm not going to talk about this right now because I want to get Bruno's thoughts on the game. But you do know who's to blame for that turning on Patricio, though. But we'll get to that. Remind me to not forget about it. But anyway, okay. Bruno, about this game, I don't know if you saw it. I don't know what you did because you had two games at the same time. But thoughts on what's been said?
I actually watched the Sporting game. I felt it was the most appealing of the two. That Sporting was on the road versus Petit going into Stade de Luge and looking for points, because we all know that's not going to happen.
Oh, wait a second. At one point, the ball went out right to him, and he played keep up for a minute. We all cheered for him. Anyway, sorry, go on.
So he was wasting time in a game where he needed to win. Very good.
Wasting time. Come off it. I didn't say he played keep up.
And it was like really early. It was like, I don't know.
He needed to win the game. I hate to tell you, he needed to win the game.
He didn't need to win the game.
He needed to win the game. No. Depending on the results.
He needed three teams to win. He needed three teams to win. He needed three teams to win for them to get relegated. It was extremely unlikely.
Okay, and what if they all won? Hold on a second. And what if they all won, Peter?
It was extremely unlikely. And he played for the points. He played to get a draw. He did everything he could to get the draw.
There you go.
Bro.
And usually when you play for the draw, you lose.
Well, but look what happened with Sporting. They played for a draw last week and they got it against Benfica. Such is life.
We played for a draw against you.
Hold on a second. They played for a draw against Benfica, and look what happened this week. You're lost. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's always going to catch up to you.
Yeah, but it is what it is, man. But
he was just being cute, and he was showing his talent with his age. Stop being a hater.
Focus on sport.
Christ.
The game, I thought that this is my honest opinion. I have not seen Sporting play that bad all season long, and I hate to say it, but it really seems like the players just did not want to win the game. I feel like there's a pact somewhere in that locker room where they just kind of came out and said, we're going to throw this season because of this president.
Now you're just being a hater. That's
no, I'm being serious. I'm being serious because
that's not fair to say that. They're very tired. Like, they played the most out of all three of us.
Yeah, I don't know.
They played the most.
Smokers on the team. You guys think that they're in good shape? Look at Coentrão. Like, that guy.
Hold on a second. Cynthia, I agree with you that they played the most amount of games, but I think the president really pissed him off after that Atletico Madrid game.
Sure. Yes, I agree.
That's why it affected.
All right, and I feel that they have a pact
about it. No, don't be like that.
No, I'm being serious. I think. You honestly think that they look to win the game against Benfica? You're playing at home. You have an opportunity to step on your rival's neck.
I think that's a JJ.
JJ did that with us all the time. This is another JJ thing. Another stubborn asshole.
Okay.
Yeah, on that game, it's a JJ thing.
But how about this one? This one, they knew that they had to win the game. You think that they looked to play? Did they play to win the game? I don't think they looked like they wanted to win the game. They were very passive. They missed a lot of passes. They just didn't seem like they cared. They were just like, whatever. Like, if you're going to have that kind of effort, then why even take the field? Because, and then the goal, the frango. Okay, Cynthia kind of has I give her some credit with he's probably due a frango, but did you see the way he gave up the goal? He just gave up the goal like
he basically
it was so weak. Yeah, it was beyond weak.
Guys, he always lets one go every season. There's one goal that's terrible for him.
This one, I think he let this one go. Look at the timing. Very late in the game, not a lot of opportunity to react. It was very late. They lost the game. He turned his back on the fans at the end of the game. I think there's something more to this. This is me talking even before all the things that happened after the game, immediately after the game, and what happened on Monday and what happened on Tuesday and all that other stuff. This is just me talking about the game I looked at the body language, and it seemed like there were players that just did not seem like they wanted to win the game. I look at Cabaleta's face when he gave up the frango, and the face
I
of
did
a
see
guy
that
that
because
just said,
I'm a Benfica, and Benfiquistas are mean sometimes, and that was
"No,"
a
but
dick.
I
There's
mean,
now a
let's be
diff with
honest.
JJ.
No,
I
but
had
that
that
that that
as my profile
that
picture.
was a face. That was a face of a guy that looked like he was betrayed. That's just my honest opinion. I mean, I
Not
know that
betrayed, he just
some
knows he's
people are going to disagree with it. I'm sorry.
I don't think he looked like he
Say
was
it
betrayed.
again.
I think he looked like he was just, effed. He got screwed.
You can say fuck.
Well, yeah,
I didn't want to say it.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
do
wouldn't
you
say
not
someone
agree with that?
betrayed. I'd say more effed.
You got fucked, then you got betrayed. Because you got screwed over. If you got screwed over, you got betrayed. I mean, it's the same thing.
I don't know that it's betrayed. You think that they sat there and we pinky promised to do our best out
hold
there.
on.
That's a betrayal.
No,
Come
hold
on.
on. No, hold on. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're saying that somebody got fucked over, then they got betrayed. It's the same thing. You're just using a different word.
No, he wasn't betrayed.
And don't say got fucked over because that's the same thing.
I didn't say effed over. No. I just said he looked like he got effed.
You
He
know,
was uncomfortable.
got fucked. Yeah, you got it right in the tissue.
Right in the bam bam. Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know where to go with this right now. I mean, there's so much.
The bum bum?
No, not with the bum bum. There's so much just happened that it's ridiculous to trying to keep up with everything. But all right, let's get into the
It's
fact
a drama. Is everybody ready? Popcorn.
Yeah, so so after the game, a lot of Sportingistas called for a lot of players' heads, and they wouldn't let them into the team bus and all that. It took them a while to get out. Then there were some more incidents at the airport. Then there were even more incidents at the Alvalade, where apparently some fans actually got into the parking lot and tried to hurt players, but they got away. And then the next day they had this reunion, this meeting about, I don't really know about what, but they had a meeting with the whole
BDC?
staff. Yeah, the
BDC
whole.
said it was for not making the second place. That's what he said.
Well, we heard news that JJ was going to be
Yep.
suspended.
But time out. Hold on. Time out. He made the meeting. He scheduled it, but he didn't show.
No, we're not talking about that one yet. We'll get to that.
No, this is the first one.
Yeah,
There's
because
been multiple meetings.
Because we'll
There
get
have
to
been
that.
multiple setups.
Because Portugueses are forgetting that very important thing, but we'll get to it. Anyway, this first meeting was on Monday, where
The day after the game, yeah.
Yeah, we thought that JJ was going to get suspended, but Bruno Carvalho said there was nothing. Although there was something that I found weird, was that he said that he wasn't going to get suspended, and then somebody asked, "But is he going to be at the Jamor?" And he never answered that, which is really weird to me. But anyway.
Yeah, but that's just BDC ignoring people. He does that all the time.
No, but he ignored it constantly. People were asking him, and he decided to ignore it, which leaves me to wonder if there's something else. But anyway, the next day...
He was like, I'm going to have him stabbed. He won't be there.
On Tuesday. I mean, I don't know. On Tuesday, the Sporting players were getting ready to get off the field, right? And into, I don't know if they were coming home or whatever after the practice, or if the practice had even begun. 50 hooligans, 50 Sportingistas.
And yes, no, we're going to call them hooligans because you don't get to be a fan if you're covering your ugly ass face. You can't show your face. That means you're not proud of what you're going to do, and you know that it's wrong. You're not a fan. So we're not going to call them fans. We're going to call them crazy hooligans.
Yeah, those guys decided to beat up Bastos, which made me feel extremely upset because he was one of the guys that plays the most hard at Sporting. But they beat up Bastos, they beat up Acunha, they beat up Patricio, they beat up JJ, they beat up a lot of people.
The reports when we were, because we were flying out still, reports were coming in that they had been locked in the locker room with the players, and they made them sit down, and if they tried to fight back or talk, they were getting hit with the you take your belt off and you got the buckle side, they were getting hit with the buckle side, so they were whipping them.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
The police showed up, and those guys dispersed, but ended up I think, arresting about 20-ish people. I don't know if there were more, but 20 guys got arrested. Sporting stayed at the Alcochete with Bruno Carvalho. Supposedly, the players turned their backs on him. Acunha and Bastos were one of the few that I think talked out, and Bastos said he wasn't going to play. While Acunha was looking to get his contract terminated. I believe him and Bataglia were two of them, because these reports came out of Argentina, so they have a little bit of more weight on them than it would be our media.
Than just our media.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, we had a terrible, a disgusting interview, or whatever you want to call it, with Bruno Carvalho, press conference, which was appalling to watch.
Is this where he said "for shot"?
Yeah.
I just want to point out, there's two things that this man has done that infuriates me, to then look at these guys and the safety that they've been given. He got mad that some dummies from like No Name sent his wife roses when they had the baby, and apparently they were red flowers. I'm just going to put it out there. That's fucking nature. I don't know green flowers all the time. It's nature. Anyways, so he was mad at the flowers, and the note it said like "Rumo a penta." The second time he was stupid about safety, somebody puts a Benfica scarf up on their window, but it's near his parents' home and they can see it, and he took that as a threat. Then you come out and say that your players literally cost you millions, right? Because he said that. We just lost millions. You guys are saying I'm suspending everybody, but we just lost millions. So we're going to have to talk about it. Okay, there's that. Then there's also the day that he had his fit and decided that he was going to blame baby stress, even though, remind me, she had the baby. Okay. So he was stressed out from having the baby. And he came out and was saying that they need to remember that they're the players. Is that right? Like, this guy set this up. He set up, I'm sorry, if you talk like an idiot, idiots are going to come out of the bushes and back up your talking. And then they get into that mob mentality, and it's super dangerous. So this guy is to blame.
Every single week, he instigated violence alongside everybody at Sporting TV.
Yeah. I remember when I was trying to watch the votes, there was no media allowed inside. And a few Sportingistas I know were proud of that. And I was like, well, that's just, communism at its finest. And then eventually afterwards, when they were done and they were coming out, the media started getting like attacked by people. People would just run up and start like trying to break the cameras.
Yeah.
So you're instigating this. When you talk crazy, the crazies come out of the bushes. Like, come on, man. Just like Trump, you talk racism, all of a sudden there's a fucking tiki torch parade. Come on.
Yeah, so anyway, at the end of the day, and I'll let you get to it, Bruno, I'm just going to say that the players left and they went out to Montijo to the Polícia Judiciária, and they all made their complaints there. Apparently, there's some rumors that even certain people, or I don't know if it was the whole team, presented a case against Bruno Carvalho for lack of safety, which could get him in big trouble because he's their boss and he has to ensure that they are safe. But from all we know was that they went into the PJ and then they came back around 1 a.m. After hearing all of the players. Now, Bruno, you were talking about on this day there was something really interesting that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a meeting scheduled at 3 o'clock in the Academia del Cochete, and he doesn't show up. Bruno Carvalho does not show up, to be clear. And then all of a sudden 50 thugs come in and beat up the rest of the team. I mean, it seems like this is me. I love conspiracy theories. And this one, I think, is you look at what happened in the past. There was one newspaper that put in the headline that Bruno Carvalho has talked to the clocks about doing something to players if they don't do what they're supposed to do. Well,
remind
something
me, what
happened
are they supposed to
months
do?
later.
They're players. They're supposed to play.
Listen, let me, we got to look at it this way. Now, I'm not saying that this is the right thing to do, but we got to look at it this way. The guy's under a lot of pressure. He comes out in public and he says he promises a title. They don't win. He comes out and he promises, all sorts of things. That they're going to be better in Champions League, that they have to win the Europa League, they have to win a cup, they have to win the Taça da Liga, they have to start winning titles. And he invested millions of dollars or millions of euros into this team, and then they don't produce. The guy's going to get pretty pissed off, and he feels like he's under a lot of pressure. Now, does that mean that you go out and you hire 50 thugs? Or I know I'm not saying that he hired them, but it looked like that might be hired, or he talked to somebody and someone designed this. This wasn't just like 50 guys hanging around and saying, you know what, we got nothing better to do. Let's go to Alvalade or and let's go beat up the players.
This 50 guys just hanging around.
If we're to follow conspiracies, it could just easily be a rival of Bruno Carvalho who set this up and obviously fabricated this to put him in this situation. If we're going down the routes of conspiracies, then
I like
we're here all
conspiracies,
day.
everybody.
Who in their right mind would
I know 2, 3, 4, 5 names of people who don't really like Bruno Carvalho, and obviously
most people don't like Bruno Carvalho.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. In this situation, if we're going to go down the routes of conspiracy,
no,
we're talking about 50. We're talking about 50 people invading Sporting's training. They may come with Sporting scarves over their face, but that does in no way associate them to a classic fan or even a classic ultra.
Except for the fact that they're part of the clock, that they're part of the Juveleo, but
some are.
But anyway, here's what I think. Here's what I think that the conspiracy theory from Bruno makes sense. Is first of all, you see the footage, and I'm sorry, but if I'm a fan, and even if I go to the Seychelles to watch the games, I wouldn't know how to maneuver my way around and get exactly.
If you're planning something like this, you make sure to find out
how do you find out those things? How do you find out those things?
It's possible. I know. I watch a lot of American TV series and whatnot, and you see
have
all this
inside
stuff come together.
You have inside info.
Someone may have given them inside information. Not everyone that works at Sporting is looking after the well-being of Sporting, and that doesn't mean that it was Bruno Carvalho. For example, we're talking about, as Bruno just said, we're talking about a situation where there was already this suspicion that Bruno Carvalho was cozying up to the ultras and preparing something for the players should they get out of hand and play rubbish.
I mean, what we've been seeing and what's been reported. I mean, it's no.
Yeah, but this is the problem. Secret. This is also a big facet of the problem. Is that the media are reporting on speculation, purely speculation. We can go right back down to Monday and Tuesday's meeting and how Jorge Jesus was already
suspensions
suspended.
and stuff.
Yeah, but they didn't fabricate that. It was somebody that gave him the information, and who knows if it was the backlash that he would get from it that made him back down. Who knows if that wasn't on the table?
Yeah, it could have been. But listen, from what I was watching, I heard a bit of information come through from a baller who said that Jesus had been suspended, and then suddenly his team was suspended, and the players were against everything, and they were suspended. Remember, this is pretty much a carbon copy of the situation that we had when we had a meeting post Atletico Madrid, and Coentrão had apparently headbutted Bruno Carvalho and was already in Madrid.
However, I do want to say some details may be fabricated, but he came out and said he did go stupid and try to suspend everybody. So maybe the headbutt didn't happen, but you can't.
He
You can't tell me you don't think something happened.
We have to
just back down on it.
We have to approach this in a correct manner, and what the media can't do is give out speculation. We have to clarify facts. Because at the end of the day,
how come they have to do it when it's you guys and not when it's Benfica?
No. But what they do say is that, like, we can't confirm this. Like, for example, when people weren't sure about, I don't know if any of the physios ended up getting stabbed. I don't know, but there was a rumor swirling around.
Yeah,
and I was listening to the
TV.
TV. And what did they say? We can't confirm this, but there are
Yeah,
rumors
but you
that this
can't
has
do.
happened. And that's the same.
You can't
You're
do
saying,
that because
you're
listen,
saying
in
we can't
media.
confirm this. You're saying we can't confirm this. If we can't confirm this,
Yeah,
then it's
but why
just a
put it
rumor.
out?
But if it's a
Why put it
rumor,
out?
if
There
it
are
went
certain
out,
things.
Because they're the news. That's
yeah,
what
they
they
have
do.
to report it. They
There
have
are
to report it.
there are specific pieces of news that as an outlet you have to corroborate and you have to make sure that it is spot on. For example, the BBC will never ever put anything like that out that says this has happened but we can't confirm it. They'll never do it. They have to confirm it first because
Well, in America, they
that's
do
yeah.
reports are coming in, and we're following up
But
for confirmation.
if you're an outlet with any ounce of integrity, that's how you function. Of course,
Wait, are you talking about integrity and in Portugal and media?
that's the
Those
thing.
things
That's
don't
the thing.
coexist.
Like, I mean, they
Yeah, but
ruined.
that's part of the problem as well. Because when, for example, we can talk about the fans and how the sporting fans are very abrasive, which is obviously wrong, but they're very abrasive with the media in Portugal. And whenever there's a camera in front of them, they shove it out the way. But there are examples dotted throughout recent history of this bit of speculation never turning out to be true. And sometimes when you put everything together, it's easy to construct a picture that this section of the media is fully against sporting.
But why don't you, as a fan, take everything with a grain of salt? I mean, I do. Even with the Conti rumors
But
that
we don't
Benfica's
know
already
because
signed them, like you take them with a grain of salt. Like they don't know all these things. They're not. And the worst thing to me, the worst thing about the media isn't even that thing because there's no agenda against Sporting. There's no agenda against Benfica. There's no agenda against Sport. I don't believe that.
it could be. There could be an agenda. I don't put it past. In Portugal, I don't put it past.
But I don't think so.
There's
I don't
always an
believe that.
agenda.
But
Actually, there's always an agenda.
but there's
Even at high level politics, for example,
listen,
in
Patrick.
Great
But
Britain, there's agendas.
there's an issue with this media, and the issue with this media is that everybody today, with all the newspaper covers, were darkest day in sporting history, blah 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 blah. Yet every single week, when Bruno Carvalho talks shit, he makes the headlines. What do they want? They want Bruno Carvalho saying this and that and that. And what do they forget is that they add fuel to the fire. The media that should calm things down, that should try and soothe things, no, they make the headlines out of the.
Because he'll
They
sell
don't make
papers.
headlines out of Rui Vitória saying I will not talk bad about JJ. Remember when all those things happened with JJ and Rui Vitória? That didn't make headlines. Rui Vitória asking for peace didn't make headlines. So media are also hypocrites because they go ahead and say, "Oh, yesterday was the darkest day in sporting history." Yet they forget that they contributed to it because instead of shutting up Bruno Carvalho, not showing what he was saying, they made sure he was headlines. And the issue with Bruno Carvalho was that he divided the fans in such a way, and this is why I think he's the worst president that Sporting ever had, because he managed to create a fucking civil war inside of the damn club, because there are people that side with him, which I think are the morons that can't see that the players are actually working and doing their best. And then there's the guys that are with JJ and with the team that realize that for most of the games they did their best and they wanted to win. And the fact was that Bruno Carvalho leaked information on purpose. He said William Carvalho wants to leave, Rui Patricio wants to leave. Then what do you want? The stupid fans that they haven't won a title in 17 years, what do? They go after those players that your president said they wanted to leave. They're easy targets. Bruno Carvalho throughout the year decided to put the bar against the players, and it's not my fault. It's not my faulty leadership that's causing this issue. It's the players. It's Rui Patricio that wants to leave. It's William Carvalho that wants to leave. Well, guess what? I would want to leave too. Didn't Van Persie leave Arsenal to win titles? Didn't freaking Sanya leave Arsenal to win titles? I mean, there's so
not
many
even
players.
just to win titles, to not be attacked by your boss.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not.
That's the biggest issue.
I'm not clearing the blame. I'm not taking the blame away from Bruno Carvalho. He's absolutely got his fingerprints all over the situation. I'm just saying that the media on the other side elevating the same problem.
They fuel it.
Which is the situation, fueling a situation
where the toxic environment that this
exactly.
footy has become, man.
If we can say that Bruno Carvalho's words incentivize this pocket of fans to evade the training complex. If we can say that, we can also say that about the media, because these fans are being fed these things. Oh, this guy doesn't want to play for Sporting or whatever and all that. And the thing that's most disappointing is, to me, when I'm watching the news and I'm hearing this fact, well, it's not a fact. This bit of news, all these rumours, and to me, it feels like the media is just saying, "Oh, but we can't confirm it." And when they say, "Oh, we can't confirm it,"
That's just lies.
that unlocks they can say anything, because as long as they say, "Oh, but we can't confirm it" at the end, or "We can't confirm it
BDC's
just
on
yet, we'll
cocaine,
confirm
but I
it
can't
later."
confirm it.
Exactly. That they can say anything from that point, because that's like a magical safeguard for them.
Exactly.
And I was
Josie
watching,
is saying
actually.
that initial reports of any news is always going to be wrong, and as time goes on, the truth is revealed by those who do know.
Yeah, and obviously in that situation, you mentioned the one where there was reports that someone from the medical staff was stabbed. You know, imagine your this is how brainless it is, because we come out of we lose our basic human instinct. You think what it's like to be the family member of
No,
someone
exactly.
from that medical staff, and you hear that bit of news come through, and then you find out how did this even come about? Is it just to add to the story, and people have forgotten that these people have families and they're actually suffering and following the developments on TV, and it's just like, from that
It's
perspective,
insane.
obviously,
Yeah.
Bruno Carvalho was very wrong to say some of the things that he did, and to come out and criticize the players and all that. That's not up for debate with me. But on the other side, I think the media definitely has
They
to
add
look at
to it.
itself
You're right.
in their own way.
I even heard one report that Bruno Fernandes contacted his family and told them to get out of the city. So that for me made me wonder if these guys were threatening to go after the families.
I don't think Bruno Fernandes is gonna play this Sunday. By the way,
I don't know, man.
We'll
Why
see.
would anybody want to play?
By the way, I'll be right back.
I also wanted
But no,
to
you're right, Patrick.
I just wanted to because I don't know. Sometimes it depends how you look at it, right? I mentioned on the pod that obviously I was very disappointed with the way Bruno Carvalho came out and criticised his players against Atletico Madrid. Like, on the day, I felt just to go over it again. On the day, I felt it was a normal loss for us. Well, obviously we made our mistakes, and we were punished by a side that's competent in thriving from those opportunities. I think we've seen just today Atletico Madrid beat Marseille, and Marseille committed mistakes of their own. Arsenal did it as well. So this is the type of caliber of team that Sporting we're dealing with. So looking back, I had no doubts then, but looking back, I'm sure some people will be thinking twice about what they thought when they were against the players in that sort of situation.
You never know. Some people hold on to anger.
To me, I think like the president was wrong. These are the sort of things that even when you pull a player or two aside and complain, and when you do that in-house, sometimes that's problematic. But generally speaking, that's what you should do. You should never pull a player out in public, because it then turns into something that's even if he was stating the obvious at certain points in his Facebook post. When you do that, it does feel very diminishing to be on the receiving end of that. But if we look closely, what would you have wanted Bruno Carvalho to do if he felt there was a problem? Then probably hold a meeting like he did on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously, it comes back to that thing where end up in a journalist's hands. We always find out that there's a meeting at this club, there's a meeting at that club. So Bruno Carvalho decided, you know what, I'm gonna flip the script here. I'm gonna go by our book, which is let's hold a meeting in private. And when he does that, obviously, this sort of information starts coming out, which is never helpful, especially in his mind. He's probably thinking perhaps I should have just put another Facebook post out or something like that. You know what I mean?
And you know what? A few Sportingistas did defend him because they were like, well, since then we've been playing well, right? Like a
Yeah.
lot of
that's
people I saw on my timeline were defending that.
I don't say this
Yeah,
stupid,
to me it was just a
but I
coincidence
really
because I
don't.
always felt like Sporting were playing well before that, and obviously, as I said, you lose against a team like Atletico Madrid. Of course, you make mistakes. That's disappointing, but you move on and hope that on another day you don't make those mistakes and you face up to a team like that. We could have done. Unfortunately, we didn't. But there's never any true shame of losing 2-1 on aggregate to Atletico Madrid.
Patrick, I'm not sure where you guys were at because I left for a little bit, but can I ask you if you think that, and we've had this, I've asked this question way too many times, but right now, do you actually think that there's any way that Bruno Carvalho can stay as Sporting's president? And listen, for those that are saying that, because if I was a Sporting fan, I would want him out. And I just want to clarify this. I'm not asking for a Godinho Lopes if I'm a Sportingista, nor am I asking for a Bruno Carvalho.
Yeah, stop throwing that around. Like nobody wants the dark days.
Sporting fans should understand that there's two opposites that are extremes that are totally bad. Is being too passive and just letting everything go by like Godinho Lopes, or being extremely aggressive like Bruno Carvalho. What you need in a president is one that's flowing in between the middle, sometimes maybe a little bit too passive, maybe sometimes a bit too aggressive. You don't need the Bruno Carvalho. Like Bruno Carvalho would have been the perfect president for Sporting if he would have kept up with his Marco Silva work. After that, everything went to shit. And I don't think right now that he has any chance of staying as president, because I'm going to tell you, I think if he stays as president, that most players are going to ask for his release. Like I believe that most players are going to ask for their release. But I don't know. What do you think?
On the topic of whether certain players will ask to be released and whatnot, and I think the important thing is that I think that there's a certain degree that they have to prove that what happened on Wednesday, sorry, not on Wednesday, on Tuesday, what happened on Tuesday is directly linked to the club and Bruno Carvalho, and that might be difficult. I don't know, but legally that might be difficult to attribute.
From what I know, honestly, from what I know, and what people are saying is that any semi-competent lawyer can get you that done.
Yeah, but that's what they were saying. But I think there has to be.
Still has to be proof, no? Like,
yeah, there has to be like a genuine link.
It's just because the past three incidents. Because there's been 3 incidents. Because it's not this one. What Sporting, with Sporting fans are also saying was that the ridiculous Toshas thing with the flares on Rui Patricio was absolutely disgusting, and there's no way that this wasn't done by somebody inside of the club, because those were way too many Toshas for them to make pass by security. Those were definitely already.
But if we look at the Europa League game today, and the Atletico Madrid and Marseille fans were packed with them, and they were going off all game. I was even saying.
But not like 50, but not like 50 or 60.
Yeah, the difference was that obviously the Sporting fans, rather brainlessly, it was a terrible thing to see. Decided to throw it onto the pitch. It doesn't matter who's in goal. It could have been Varela.
It would have been, but it would have been more understanding. Would they have done it on Varela? He could have said, "Oh, it was just
but even then,
something." But I know. But you know how Portugal is, and and it would be more understandable. But to throw that at Patricio, and then not just that, and then the parking lot incidents where people try to get to the players in the parking lot, and then this incident too, because we're not talking about one incident, we're talking about 3 in a row where the players feel like they are not being protected well enough. So that's where the case comes from.
Yeah, it could, but at the end of the day, we have to realize that. For example, Portugal is we're a nation that we don't deal too well with failure, and any instant or sniff of a loss or a change of paths from greatness to not being great at all. Portuguese fans are on your back, and we've seen examples dotted around the country throughout the years. We've had Porto fans evade their own training complex. Obviously, not to the extent that we saw yesterday, but we've seen that. We've seen Benfica fans even recently hurl abuse and whatnot at their own players. We've seen it happen a few times at Guimarães, and that's a small club that doesn't get the same coverage. I think when you're a club like Sporting or Porto, Benfica, all that stuff, obviously, because you've got so many fans and you're used to being a top team and you want to fight for the title and the very best things that Portuguese football can offer. When you don't find yourself in that position like Sporting or like Benfica were a couple of weeks ago, I think it's natural, unfortunately natural, that you are going to get sections of the support that will show their.
But you're not saying anything new, Patrick. Though we all know this. The problem is what happened was that the players were assaulted. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe any players were assaulted from Bunyan, from Guimarães, especially not from Porto, because even Porto supporters aren't stupid enough to go ahead and do that to their own players.
Yeah, of course,
Maxi would headbutt a bitch. Are you kidding?
We're talking.
I don't
about,
know.
We're talking about, and obviously this is where what Bruno Carvalho said about the players and criticising them for not doing so well. This is where it plays a part, because obviously the difference between what happened at Guimarães and at Porto and at Benfica, the difference is that those clubs, we've just got a situation where a club is playing badly and not getting the results that they should. So the fans are saying, no, come on, pull up your socks or get out of the club. You're not fit to wear the shirt or whatever. But the prospect is still there. If a fan is crazy enough to think, bloody hell, Luizão, like, pack your stuff, mate, and go finish with football, and he decides the best way to do that is to knock him one in the nose, like, he will do that. Obviously, it's a bit different at Sporting because we've got this whole situation where, as you say, there is a conflict between the players and the president. And it can be very easy, as anyone that follows social media and whatnot, it can be very easy for a section of Sporting's supporters to say, you know what, I believe in the president, or be, you know what, the players are right in this. So when you create that sort of friction, obviously you don't just think, oh, this team should win. You actually brew a little bit of dislike to certain players, and even then, though, it's difficult because you have to be of a certain mentality to do what those 50 odd people did yesterday, and that's to me the key difference is obviously what the president said. Although I can see that it may have contributed to players getting assaulted, there is still a jump to be made between saying Gelson should have scored and the next man on a Tuesday afternoon rushing in and trying to clamp Gelson. There's a jump. So to directly claim that Sporting or the president were culpable, to me, I think will turn out to be very difficult.
Okay, but the question, answer the question though.
The question being, do I think the Sporting players will rescind their contract?
No. If Bruno Carvalho has any way of staying as Sporting's president after all of this,
it's really difficult because obviously the stuff that's coming out at Sporting is it isn't positive, and it's showing Sporting in a bad light, not just nationally but globally, and that can, if Sporting maintains its structure and all that, it can work out to be quite problematic for whatever changes Sporting may look to do in the future. I think Sporting were already looking at making changes going into the new season. Obviously, with this conflict between Sporting players and the president, I think the most natural thing for the president to do, and here he would have had conditions to stay on as president because the dust had settled a little bit, and okay, we lost to Maritimo, but we've got a cup final. If we win that, all good. And then you can make your changes, which probably would have been, we would have sold William, we would have sold Patricio, perhaps we would have sold Dost to make up for the money that we lost out on the qualification and all that. And then you try to rebuild and bring new blood in. You know what I mean?
Do you think anyone's going to want to come in after this?
But
yeah, that's the real question.
That's
what Josie asked.
The problem is that that's the problem is that we've got Sporting has a situation on our hands.
It's like the bridge is starting to burn. You don't want to burn that bridge.
This is where I think that Bruno Carvalho has no way of staying at president. If he's president,
it is difficult.
Sporting lose millions because they're going to lose money on players, because I genuinely believe that there's some players there that don't want to play with him as president. And they're going to lose millions on JJ. And listen, Patrick, take this with a grain of salt, please. But, it was on my timeline, and it's something that, I have to point out. And, obviously, Otávio Machado, right? The guy that ended up getting released by Sporting, I think, this year.
Yeah.
But anyway, he said that Bruno Carvalho humiliated and verbally fired JJ on Monday. And that the only reason why he's not leaving yet is because of the Taka game.
Yeah.
That guy has so much verbal diarrhea. Does he have someone that walks around just writing shit down, and then in the next day he'll confirm or deny it? Jesus.
I will take that with a pinch of salt, because obviously it's Bruno Carvalho's down right now in this season, and so all his enemies will come out to kick him in the gut and all that. So.
Yeah, but we don't even need to. He kicks himself in the ass.
Yeah, too. But it's just the way that JJ left. The way that JJ left also looked like somebody lifted a burden off their shoulders. So it's
there's definitely problems there. And look,
this is a bad relationship.
There's no hiding that Sporting come away from this season considerably. They will come out of this season considerably weaker.
It doesn't even matter if they win the trophies.
Be as close as possible to the top. Okay, we didn't win the league, but we've got a very good side, and with a year of experience under the belts of Salmon, perhaps if we had made some changes, I think we could have still been an active Big Three club. But we've taken a very wrong turn, obviously, and the president shares a portion of blame for that. It all centers around that Facebook post, unfortunately, and that's that.
All right.
So it's difficult. It's difficult to imagine him carrying on. That's not to say that I hope he doesn't, or that I don't think he will. That's just me saying things are very, very unpredictable, and I do not know.
He is unpredictable.
I do not know how this story will develop, let alone end.
Yeah,
we're all watching with tea and popcorn, buddy.
Yeah, I think Sporting fans are in denial. Most fans, though, seem to think that he's gone. I want to hear Bob. I want to hear Bruno, because he's been extremely quiet, and I'm sure he has.
He's probably taking notes. Jesus.
So Bruno.
No, I'm just listening to what you guys are saying. I mean, does he have conditions to continue? Of course he does. Do you forget that he also redid all the rules and regulations of Sporting? This was already premeditated.
None of it is in place. None of it is in place yet. Let's just not forget.
It's not in place? Are you sure?
Yeah, he's just a few meetings away from having his head on the table. So.
Yeah, what the statutes have not yet been cleared. So the new statutes that they passed on still aren't in vigor, as they say. So they're not actually being applied.
Well, he definitely has an agenda. Obviously, this is definitely him. Preparing something. He seems like he wants to be untouchable, and the guy right now is untouchable. I don't see how there's going to be anyone from Sporting that's going to be able to kick him out. That's just my honest opinion. I don't see that. How?
The players,
How is that even possible?
the players have to kick him out. That's the only way.
The same way,
Oh, that's not going to work, dude.
the same way, Dean Lopes was obviously in charge, and that they held the the emergency general assembly, backed up by the supporters' dissatisfaction.
No, but see,
The same thing can happen.
No, but the thing is that Bruno Carvalho will not be fired by the fans because the fans, most of them are brainwashed to believe that he's actually correct. And I don't believe how after what he said yesterday, and I mean, even José Pina freaking turned his back on Bruno Carvalho. Every TV commentator is saying that he has no way of staying as president. Yet I see fans on Twitter all the time say, "Oh, Benfica did this. This is Benfica at work. Bruno Carvalho actually has nothing to do with this. Bruno Carvalho this, Bruno Carvalho that," and they keep defending on Bruno Carvalho. And those are the guys. Unfortunately, those are the guys that are going to vote. I think the majority of the smart fans understand that Bruno Carvalho can't continue. I do think if they go to a assembly and they make the voting, if they want Bruno Carvalho to say, I think he wins by the vast majority again, because I think fans are dead. So. I think most of the fans are crazy.
I think
you can't be like that. Not everybody.
I think when you
from what it's just from the reaction that I'm getting from most people. I'm not saying that everybody. I'm saying most of them. I think most of them. Cynthia, I'm not trying to generalize. I'm saying that from what I'm getting,
we need everybody to know. We don't think everybody is the same thing. No.
What I will add is that obviously when you're looking at your Twitter timeline and the people you engage with, that can be very misleading. And
of course,
I think we've seen that in like bigger cases like with Brexit and Donald Trump and all that, and where obviously most people's timeline was like, oh, what an idiot Donald Trump is, and then bang, he won it. I think the split in support for Bruno Carvalho and no Bruno Carvalho at Sporting is actually it's the biggest it's ever been right now. I do think that there is a case to be made. Certainly from the people that I've seen a lot of dissatisfaction from some of the fans that used to swear by Bruno Carvalho up until the Atletico Madrid thing, and it's a shame.
The Facebook post
because to me, obviously I know you guys won't like the man, and obviously you're not meant to, because when he speaks, all he sees is the color green and all that.
Then again, but that's where you were wrong, because I was really excited when Bruno Carvalho first became president, and I thought his ideas were fresh, and I was enjoying the fact that he was bringing the competition, and I think that his first year with Leonardo Jardim was pretty perfect. His first year with Mark Silva had its flaws, but he wasn't the worst. I think when fans from Benfica and Porto really started to turn on him was when he decided to go nuts on everyone, because Bruno Carvalho was actually pretty solid president for the first couple of years. So I don't know if we're supposed to hate him. I mean, yeah, I guess if he brings success, but there's ways of doing it, and I felt like he was really actually doing a pretty decent job. I mean, we can't forget that the first year with Leonardo Jardim, they brought in Slimani, they brought back João Mário, they brought back William Carvalho, they brought back Wilson Eduardo, and several of those, Adrian Silva, several of those players. So they were doing a pretty decent job. And me as a fan, I was actually, like, oh, okay, this is actually interesting. Like, Sporting are growing. Yeah.
And it's good for our Liga. And I'll be honest with you, I want you at the top of your game so that when we beat you, you're upset about it. I don't want to beat you when you're down. That's no fun.
Yeah, I think he's done. I think his job has been excellent, even this season. It's just that little bit from when
it's like Trump with Twitter. Take away his freaking phone.
Yeah, he started with that the elections, that he needed 86% and all that, and then he obviously followed on to the Atletico Madrid thing and so on and so on. And it's just been a series of really bad decisions to make at a time where all that we're supposed to have our eyes on are 11 guys running about on a green pitch, because that's from like February, March onwards. That's when decisions are made in seasons, and he's completely picked up his work, and it feels like he's just put it in the shredder.
He stole the spotlight.
It's just
but you have to understand. You have to understand, Peter, that's what he also wants. You kind of forget that.
No, that's true.
He wants the spotlight.
Yeah.
You know, he's a guy that he's the guy that demands attention.
Yeah, and he knew he wasn't get to his goals, so he also had to find a way to not get himself blamed. I honestly think that he's leeching off Sporting as most of your previous presence. I think he's one of the biggest leeches that you guys got there. But
Nah, I think
no,
I think
because
you dislike him too much.
I agree with that, Peter.
You agree with that? Because listen,
Yeah,
I think that he and listen, this is coming from Sporting users too, and I paid a lot of attention to Seek and TV. I try to get as much information as I can out of this because I wanted to get Sporting users' views on this. And a lot of them, are saying like, "Hey, Bruno Carvalho knew near the end of the season, I don't know, like February-ish, that he wasn't going to win the title, so he had to find a way to not be the one to be blamed. So what does he do? He goes on
scapegoat
Facebook.
the team.
But as you say,
That's why I think he's leeching off Sporting
Yeah,
because the thing and let me just say this before you go and Bruno Carvalho, one of his first interviews, he was asked, "What if Bruno Carvalho becomes Bruno Carvalho? Bruno Carvalho, the president, becomes Bruno Carvalho, the fan?" And what did he said? He said, "If that ever happens, I'm already out of the club because people don't want me here." And the fact is that right now, Sporting don't have a president as a president; they have a fan as a president, and he's leeching off Sporting, and he wants to try and make Sporting something that they're not. And when they're not playing well, instead of handling it like a president, I mean, we cannot forget that JJ lost everything at Benfica in the final minutes.
I can forget.
Everybody's like, "Oh, are you going to fire JJ? Are you going to fire JJ?" What does he say? No, JJ's our president. He's going to stay with the club. He's our manager. He's going to stay with the club. We stand by him. He said that every single week. He could have just easily said, "No, JJ completely botched this. It was all his fault. He's going out of the club." If Bruno Carvalho, I'm telling you, if Bruno Carvalho was the one going through that, JJ's head would be on a spike. That's the problem with you, is that you guys don't have a president acting like a president. You have a president acting like a fan. Because I'm going to be honest, I was one of those that said it doesn't matter the outcome of the season. And I swear to God, like I said this 2 weeks before our Porto game, like it doesn't matter how the outcome of the season is. Like this one was one of our best years, but a lot of my friends were like, he completely bottled everything at the end. Like, how can you keep this guy? How can you want to keep this guy in? And it's normal. Like most of the fans would react that way. Most of the fans wanted JJ out, and the fact is that Bruno Carvalho is acting himself like a fan and not a president, and that's how I don't understand how fans can support him, or the majority could support him for most of the year when he was acting like one of them. Like our president cannot act like one of us.
Well, because they like that then. Some of them like that. Josie just wanted to say it's easy to kick him out, and he says don't renew your socio and watch those numbers drop.
The issue is that I don't think the fans are I still think the fans are with him. That's the issue.
You know what though, Josie? I'm still a socio, regardless what happens.
with that said, that you just said then that fans are with him. That's part of the reason why I don't think he pulled anything like the Facebook post or anything like that to relieve him of the blame. He could say absolutely nothing. He's on Bruno Carvalho in terms of admiration. He's on that level. You could probably look at Pinto Costa as an example. Pinto Costa in seasons where they had Lopetegui and they haven't.
But you can't compare.
They haven't really been doing that well.
Lopetegui.
I'm not comparing Bruno Carvalho to Pinto Costa. I'm just saying, if Bruno Carvalho was to take,
if he gets that type
approach as the old man he is now, who's a lot more reserved in the way he does things, like Pinto Costa, he said like the stuff that he said was so minimal and let's get on with it. That sort of stuff.
What was minimal?
What Pinto Costa said, and Pinto Costa barely spoke. He's right.
Yeah, exactly.
He spoke more at the end of the season when Porto won the title. He started taking shots, but it is what it is.
Porto fans weren't saying, "Oh, this guy's got to go. This guy's got to go," and all that. Even who was it? It was Nuno Espírito Santo and all that at the end of his year.
But I mean, Patrick,
people were saying, "Oh, Pinto." Some people were saying Pinto Costa's already preparing already preparing the club to give over to his son or whatever for when he leaves. He kept quiet and all that because he knows, like, he's safe there. Pinto Costa's, realistically, he's safe for life at Porto. I think that's the same thing for Bruno Carvalho at
But
Sport.
I mean,
he doesn't need to say anything.
then listen, the standards
He knows that
are very, very low because Pinto Costa, to get that type of treatment, had to win and win a lot. And he won European championships. He won internally. He won the Pentas. The Porto fans like to talk about.
You don't even have to go that far. The last 30 years.
No, but that's what
Bruno Carvalho won a Supertaça, won, I believe, one Taça Portugal and one Taça da Liga. Now, if you're telling me that a coach with 3 trophies has this, one president with 3 trophies has the stability of doing whatever the hell he wants, that the fans will idolize him, then I mean that's crazy because we're talking
crazy.
about. Then we're talking about.
He feels like he's idolized because he is a fan and he acts like a fan and he thinks like majority of the fans.
But how does
that's why he's liked by so many people.
It's an appeal.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Right. So
because look, we have what we have in Bruno Carvalho is this is where we get lost in the mentality of must win. What we have in Bruno Carvalho is obviously, as you say, is a fan president. So obviously, to some people that appeals that there's a president that thinks the way they think and they give the fans a voice, especially in a time where obviously we know what the Portuguese league is like. We know that that football is played just as much off the pitch as it is on it, with verbal attacks here and there from this club to that club. Sporting never really had a voice like that in the same way that Benfica have with their various pundits here and there on this TV show and that TV show, and Porto the same. Sporting never really had that. So then, if Bruno Carvalho comes rushing in after the absolute chaos that would have ended us under Godin Lopes, we have a president that then picks Sporting right back up. We're back in top 3, eventually top 2 and all that. And theoretically speaking, Sporting are back. This is what Porto, Benfica, Sporting should be doing, is being at the top 3, fighting for the titles. I know Sporting hasn't won any title.
When's the honeymoon?
We are there. We are there. So I'm saying from a footballing point of view, as well as a verbal point of view, like Sporting are alive, and that's the minute. That's all a president can really set up. If we look at his appointments, Leonardo Jardim, top manager.
Yeah, actually,
Marco Silva, very good manager.
Should have stayed.
Jorge Jesus, one of the best managers in recent history. In Portugal.
No, Peter, Jardim got bought out.
He got bought. I know.
So
he got bought out. So you can't say that he should have stayed.
So if we look at this, if we look at that picture that I just painted right there,
I still think. Listen, but that's where I keep
really do anything.
But that's where I keep debating. But that's where I keep debating Bruno Carvalho's strategy. First of all, my question to you is, when is the honeymoon phase going to end? Because eventually, if you don't win shit, eventually you're going to get kicked out. So I'm surprised that the honeymoon phase has lasted this long, to be honest with you, because
I don't think that's the thing.
All that Bruno Carvalho he's a talker. That's how he does. Because listen, he's spending. I don't even know. And listen, and I agree with Porto when they came out a few days ago and said that what's happening with Sporting, it's not. What did they say? That it was concorrência desleal, because Sporting. Lest we forget that Benfica had to sell Markovic, Rodrigo. Matic, Garay, all those guys. Remember that year where we sold like half of our team? Is because we had to pay Bash. But the fact is, Sporting keeps getting their debts forgiven by a freaking bank that has no fucking money. And the fact is that Bruno Carvalho, all he's doing was that his first 2 years were great because he was saving the money, he was keeping them to himself, he was letting Sporting, pay off their debt and still be competitive. Lest we forget, Leonardo Jardim finished in 3rd, Marco Silva finished in 2nd, I believe. If not, Leonardo Jardim in 2nd and Marco Silva in 3rd. Marco Silva won a Taça de Portugal. What does he get? He gets booted out. What happens? Sporting by JJ.
Well, he got booted out because he already had Completa
Yeah, but that's
an agreement.
That's where the issue. But that's where the issue starts. He pays $8 million a year to JJ to win titles. JJ hasn't won shit. Sporting spend a bunch of
And do
money
you guys
on players.
remember? I just want everybody to remember the shit he was talking, and a lot of Sporting fans too gave me a lot of shit about that. That we took your Jesus is ours now. La 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 la. We're gonna get you
but
now.
you
Come
can't
on.
say that he hasn't won anything. He's won. He's
The
won.
modalidade.
He's won a Taça da
Two-
Liga and a Supertaça.
Okay, and he's gonna probably win the Taça de Portugal. Let's be honest. But there's also other things that he's won. He lifted the modalidades
Exactly,
into a whole new level.
God knows
The
how.
roller,
Also spending a lot of
the
money.
hockey is now they are one of the top teams.
That's
You have
the thing. How do they have the money for all of that? How does he have the money to inject, like to pay Ricardinho like $6 million? Nobody in their right mind has money, has that kind of money.
We'll find out sooner or later. I mean, listen. But Peter, you're complaining about how this guy gets the debt forgiven. You have no right to complain because
We don't
you
get
have
our
a
debt
president that owns 1 billion euros to the country.
And
1 billion euros. You know what 1 billion euros
Where are
does
you
for a
getting
guy
your
like you that live?
Listen, even if that was
Okay, well, how much is mil milhões?
the president?
Hold on a
is not
second.
the club.
Cynthia.
And that is not even true.
Hold
How
on.
is that even true? That's not even physically possible. But anyway, I'm not even like this.
Como? He has business or not business, but he's had projects that have gone broke, and the money's not there no more. I mean, he was taking money loans out of the banks left and right, and no one's saying nothing.
Benfica, because Benfica is one thing, which Viera is another, and Benfica does not get his debt forgiven.
Okay, sorry. So let's not talk about Orelhas. You still were forgiven 17 million euros.
Wow!
Did you forget about that?
How much money did Sporting get forgiven?
Bro, I'm just saying 17 million euros from here. You have Seychelles. Remember, Seychelles wasn't just purchased by Benfica.
You want me to talk about Olival because man, that's still right in here, man. That pisses me off because I'm from
Right
Gaia,
in where you're not on video.
You know. And Olival is paying peanuts to be there, and nobody else goes there.
But that's the deal that Porto made. That's the deal that Porto made. You can't. I mean, that's just the deal that we made. You can't hate on that.
Yeah, because
you can't hate on that.
We got robbed. We're paying our money for Porto to enjoy something.
So Seychelles the same thing, bro. I mean, get over it.
That's what I was trying to tell you, is that if we're going to talk about Seychelles, I can talk about Olival. That doesn't matter. Like, what I'm just trying to say here is that Bruno Carvalho had a very good strategy going. And then all of a sudden, when JJ came in, he started to spend a bunch of money. I don't fucking know where the money is coming from. Like, Sporting is the club with the least amount of money in Portugal. I know Benfica has the biggest staff, but Sporting hasn't sold anyone great. Besides
they've made good money since he's come in.
Yeah, since he's come in, but still not enough. But
made more money than ever before.
We cannot forget that Sporting were the only team to pay $8 million for a player in January that he barely played. Hold
on a second. You saw the number of sauciers, they went up. The attendance has gone up in everything, in all modalidades.
It's not the 43 million that they keep saying that they are, or 1,000, sorry. The 43,000 fans that they keep aiming at when the stadium's like half empty. No, those numbers.
Hold on. Time out, Peter. There's something called no-shows. There's something called no-shows. I mean, you look. I'll give you an example. Peter. I'll give you an example. The New York Giants. The New York Giants are close to us. Yeah. They are sold out for the next 10 years. Do you understand that? For the next 10 years, they are sold out.
I don't understand. Can you say it slower?
85,000 people that have already paid a ticket. But when they have miserable years like they had this year, there's a lot of people that don't show up to games. I mean, they're called no-shows. So the tickets are sold. If the people decide to show up or not, that's not their problem.
But I still don't think that's the case with Sporting. But that's besides the point. But the fact of the matter is, to me, is that he has a lot of money. I don't know where that money came from. And I was really a big fan of Bruno Carvalho. And he decided to throw it all away when he decided to bring in JJ. And I'm not even sure how Sporting fans are But it's true, and I'm not sure how when this.
You just admitted it. You're bitter that he took your coach that you didn't even want.
Yeah,
That's not a.
This is what
No,
I was
I'm
about to
not.
say.
I'm not bitter. You can have the ex-wife.
I wasn't. I was
A
no.
lot of money on hair products.
Because once
Listen,
Jesus
I'm
comes
saying
in,
Jason could have been
you have to
somebody
admit,
else
Sporting.
that he paid 8 million. He's paying 8 million for somebody to finish third in behind Rui Vitória. That a lot of people say Rui Vitória is trash. Well, you guys can't even get
Better than
in
your
front
stylish
Rui
haired
Vitória.
clown.
Sporting's football, at least in the first season under Jesus,
Was really
improved
good.
massively, and,
Yeah.
and no one can take that away from him. Obviously, the second season we made a few bad moves in the transfer market, and that came back to haunt us. But even this season, we've played some great football under Jorge Jesus.
Yes, you have.
It was certainly better than anything we had under Marco Silva, and obviously in the days of Leonardo Jardim, I don't
But
think the
that's-
league
but-
was
but-
as competitive
But
for us.
Patrick, that's the freaking
Um,
thing though. With Sporting fans, are you guys always going to settle for minimal things? Are you always going to
No,
settle
but
for less?
that's to me that's the problem with Portuguese football. Is that we have to realize no.
Because
We
Let
have
him
to
finish.
realise-
Let him finish.
We have to
No,
realize
because the thing is, like, Rui Vitória gets paid like 1.5 million. JJ gets paid 8. If you're paying 8 million to JJ, there's not that learning curve. You
Rui
can't
Vitória
give him
gets
that learning
paid.
curve.
Rui
You're
Vitória
giving-
gets paid 1 million because he's come fresh from Vitória Guimarães
Exactly.
and a
But
stint
that's the
at Paços
thing.
Ferreira.
But
Jorge
he's
Jesus
got
is
that.
a proven champion at Benfica, and he's
And
had
what does he want?
big roles at Braga and whatnot, and he's an experienced
So you're paying him for having one with
Portugal.
us?
Exactly. That's my point. Like, you guys are paying 8 million for a guy that isn't producing results for the third year in a row. When's the honeymoon gonna rub off? That's what I'm
Hold on a
trying
second. What is that your problem though?
Because it's like
Do you
football.
see? Do
Why
you
is
see
he so
Portistas?
upset? You're right.
Because
Do you see Portistas all upset about Cableta not winning? No,
Just, like,
that's
sign him
not
up
our
for life,
problem.
man.
frustrates me.
That's
Like,
Sporting's problem.
I'm a
How are you losing sleep over this, Peter?
I'm not.
Let's be honest. Let's have a nice intervention. Please tell the fans that you're still upset that he left Benfica for Sporting. Say it. Admit it.
About that.
It'll make you feel better.
I don't care.
It'll make you feel better.
Oh my fucking god.
Peter, you kind of walked into this, man.
No,
It
but I
feels
was
like you're hung
you-
up on him.
It'll make you feel as good as when you look up into that red velvet quackers over your bed.
Why are you being like this? I'm just trying to talk. Whatever, man. Whatever. You're being an ass. I'm
No, but Patrick told you he's a decent coach, right? I'm not going to say he's the best coach,
Look,
but he's a
it's-
decent coach, and he's been decent with Sporting.
It's Sporting are to
I'm
lure
just
away
saying- but I'm
Jesus
just saying, the money that they're
from
paying him-
Benfica and all that. That they have to put up that sort of money.
But you're putting up. Listen.
But now
I'm
he's
not-
lost,
I'm not
It's a
so-
gamble. It's a gamble.
I'm not
An-
discrediting
anything
the
you
money
do-
that they're paying him, and I'm not saying that he's not worth the money. I'm just saying when it's been 3 years in a row of paying the best coach in Portugal, 8 freaking million a year,
I
he's
think it's
not
actually 6.
winning. Yeah, it's 6 after tax, but he's getting paid 8. Anyway,
Peter, did you get upset when Porto was paying Lopetegui and getting all these players at very high rates? Were you
I'm
upset
actually-
about that?
That's the
I
thing.
was
That's the
actually
gamble.
about when
you guys got rid
gamble
of-
in football.
But I'm saying, were you upset at that, Peter?
Porto, no, because I hate Porto, and I got pissed off that you guys.
All right, so you're admitting that you love JJ, you
because-
love Cableta, and you wish you could have him back.
No, the thing is that you guys fucked up because you didn't give shit to Paul Fonseca, and then you decided to give a bunch of big names to Lopetegui. If you have given those big names to Paul Fonseca, you guys would have been champion. Like most Porto fans forget that the only player that is still in Porto's team that was brought in by Paul Fonseca is Herrera. That's the only player. Like Porto is a whole nother
All
issue.
right.
I was very salty at Porto for letting go of Paul Fonseca and then doing what they did with Lopetegui. And like these
But
things,
hold on a second, Peter, you're forgetting one thing. Paul Fonseca himself admitted that he wasn't ready for Porto.
no, and that's
Do you
okay.
see that?
But Porto didn't give him anything.
What do you mean that's okay? If you're not ready for big time, then you shouldn't be there.
I'm just saying
He
that
he tried to quit 3 different times during that season. He knew that he was not prepared.
Porto didn't help him either.
How did it? They helped him with they got the players that they thought was good enough to win that league,
Fucking.
and they hung around for a while. We also know why they lost their league. Do we not know? Yes, we do.
What?
We can check a couple of emails, and it's all in there.
Porto finished third that year. Are you crazy? Like fucking 8 points behind Benfica or 10. I think it was like 10 or something. So you're saying that?
Yes, and many of those points were robbed. But okay, fine. And that was a bad year.
That was a terrible year.
That was a bad year. The Lopetegui year, that year, we should have been champions. We were the better team.
Yeah, you guys.
We were the better team.
And you bought
There's a video on
okay, but
there's a video on YouTube.
That's an investment.
JJ singing Flopotegi. It's beautiful.
I don't think see that's the thing. I also don't think that JJ is also that manager that people are trying out to make, because most of his besides his first year at Benfica in 2009, 2010, where the team was playing extremely good football, all of his other trophies were, except also for the 33rd championship, that was also a good one. But the other two were really, or the other one was really messy, and it was just a case of Benfica actually having Porto bottle the championship for us. Like, it wasn't like JJ was putting this team to play out of this world football. No, Porto was right next to us. They just bottled it. They bottled it at the Madeira against us.
You just finished saying that he wasn't the best. You don't think he is the greatest coach, but you're all pissed off about him.
I'm not.
What is it here?
You're missing the point.
He doesn't realize his feelings for the man.
No, I'm pissed off because Bruno Carvalho decided to pay someone a lot of money when he was doing a good job saving up the money for Sporting to actually.
My question to you is, why do you care so much?
No.
Why?
Are you a sporting socio?
No.
Yeah.
There's
no difference.
Just
There's
making
no
sure.
difference.
After I saw you this weekend with the Porto jersey, scarf, and all these other things, now I'm starting to wonder that maybe you're actually you're a Sportingista. That's right, fans. I met Peter, and he had a Porto jersey on with a scarf.
He was trying not
He
to
was
get
at the Liados, and he was the loudest guy there.
You're so full of shit. Peter, did you disappear?
Trust me, Patrick. He was there. He hung up.
He hung up?
Just shut up. Patrick was gonna say something. What were you gonna say, Patrick?
Patrick knows. I sent him the pictures.
Shut up, Bruno.
I actually, when you sent the picture, actually, the first guy, I thought you were hinting that was Bruno Fernandes. I didn't notice the other two guys. And because obviously Bruno Fernandes said
it's actually Bruno Fernandes' brother.
Oh,
No, it's actually Bruno Fernandes' brother.
I didn't understand. I was like, I don't know who these
people
people
The guy
are.
looked like Bruno Fernandes. He's trying to say, Bruno Fernandes is already rocked
The
up to
Portista,
Porto,
yeah.
And he's sorted. That's what I
Well,
thought. But anyway, as I was going to say...
he is a Portista. He is a Portista.
But he's from Porto as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he was born in Maia, and he was...
I actually think he tried out for Porto and
they cut him.
He was Boa Vista, wasn't he?
He went to Boa Vista, and that's where he made his name. Yes.
Yeah. First Lid and then Boa Vista.
Yeah. But I don't think Porto stand much of a chance if he's available to get him. You know, with the teams after.
No way.
Bruno Fernandes, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, Liverpool, Tottenham. You know.
No.
Porto don't have that money. Who did you even sign of financial note in the past season? I don't know.
I don't think they did.
We signed Vana.
Yeah.
We signed Vana, and we bought Oliver.
No, and you also got Paulino and that other guy.
Yeah, but that's all on loan. That's all on loan.
Lorian too.
Juarez, Osorio, and Paulinho were all on loan.
Okay.
With option to buy.
Okay. All right. Well, Patrick, weren't you going to say like something else related to this, or you?
No, I was just going to say that it's to me it's perfectly normal. You said Sporting were fine saving up their money, but we weren't, because at the end of the day, Sporting weren't getting anywhere near the title. We're doing something about it to try and win the title, and that's what you do. You gamble, you put money on the line, you give Jesus 6 to 8 million euros a year to try and win the title. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, how many?
That's why I keep telling you when's the honeymoon gonna run off, because it's been going for 3 years.
Yeah, but it's going for 3 years. But I've always defended. For example, first season was excellent under Jesus. We were really unlucky not to have won the title. second season, we made mistakes, and that isn't solely down to Jesus. Obviously, some of the players that were brought in didn't work out, but we knew the body of work was there, and we saw that again this season. We've had some very good performances, and I think Sporting played really well this year, other than the fact that they began to run out of fuel towards the end, and then obviously we have this bombshell that's in our way at the moment. But that's very difficult for a manager who's trying to push his team onto better things to deal with. I still think Jesus is a very good manager. Had this situation not have happened, I think I would have liked to see him carry on for the fourth and final season of his contract, because I do think he's a very good manager. We've seen what he does with players that have come in on frees or nominal fees, and he really manages to squeeze the best out of certain players.
All the talent out of them. Yeah.
Oh, no, obviously he does have his stubborn ways and all that, which many of us fans sometimes wonder. Why can't he change? Why can't he be a bit more fluid with his ideas? But generally speaking, I think Jesus is on point with the football that he plays and what he pulls off. We've had some great displays in Europe as well, respectable performances. So all in all, I don't have many
complaints
about Jesus, because I think that's just the nature of football. I think.
So you want him for the next year?
For example, from a Bruno Carvalho perspective, he's given. No one can tell me that Bruno Carvalho hasn't given Jorge Jesus all the conditions for him to be successful. So
he didn't give him one thing. He didn't give him stability.
Stability for what? Other than obviously just now. I mean, I'm talking pre-Atletico Madrid. The conditions were there.
He was already talking. Don't forget the year he deleted his Facebook last year too. Don't forget.
But that's not too relevant.
Not too relevant. Yeah.
No,
when you have a coach when you have a president sitting on the bench, and a president that believes that
a president
rules the locker
has always sat on the bench.
Nah. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you. I can't say
it means
that.
Nothing.
I don't think he gave JJ everything that he could have to be champion. And let me just
what could have happened?
What more could he have done?
Stayed out of it.
Who's spending? Stay out of what?
Stay out of the team. Like the team, like you don't see a freaking president. First of all, I don't see a president do what he did post Atletico Madrid, but that's besides the point.
Yeah,
because
but
I don't want to
I'm talking everything that happened before that, because that's how we set up for the season.
From what we know is that he always felt like he was a figure in the locker room and everything, and he feels like I don't feel like JJ always had full control of the team. Okay, I feel like those guys that were actually like when they were hurt, they weren't hurt. Like the Atletico Madrid thing, like I think he took control there, and I don't think he gave JJ. He started from that moment. I think it was really clear that he wanted to have a hand on the team. But listen, let me just say that, like, what I was just trying to say with JJ is that I'm not trying to discredit anything from him, and I'm not discrediting the money. I'm just saying that if you're getting the same results with him as you were with previous managers, that's where I think your mistake comes in. That's where I think that you're wasting your money. That's what I just want to get that out of the way.
Let them waste it.
Yeah, but I think that's my point is that I think the football that was played, for example, under Mark Silva and under what we have with Jesus, I much prefer what we have with Jesus, because
you also have better players.
Yeah, of course we have better players as well, but still.
But JJ plays an aggressive
towards that.
Yeah, he does. But I'm just also saying, I think Mark Silva is a very good manager. I just think also
JJ, of course,
has had better teams, because Bruno Carvalho continuously invests in the team. So I also think JJ gets that luck too. I mean, So it's just that I feel like Mark Silva was sent out too soon, like Paulo Fonseca. Like even if Bruno's saying Paulo Fonseca wasn't ready for Porto, maybe he wasn't the first year, but I guarantee you that in the second year he will be better. In the third year he will be even better. And who knows if we would have been talking about the possibility of a Piente if Paulo Fonseca had stayed at Porto, or Mark Silva at Sporting. That's just how I feel. Like I feel like those guys weren't given enough time, and Bruno Carvalho jumped the gun on JJ because he thought he was going to get immediate results. And don't lie to me and say that he didn't think he was.
And some of it was a stab at Benfica.
To put it all into into perspective, to a certain extent, we did get results because we obviously straight off the bat we beat Benfica in the Super Cup, and we were a couple of points away from actually taking the title. And had Sporting that season won the title, picking up, Benfica's ex-manager, psychologically, that was a massive move from Sporting. If Sporting wins that, who knows what happens to Benfica? So it's a bit of a double victory there for Sporting. I can certainly see the gamble. To me, I was super excited when
you stole JJ.
Yeah, I was super excited. I mean, I liked Marco Silva. I thought the season was decent.
Good.
It could have been better. We certainly. There were certainly a lot of things that we could have improved upon as well. But once Jesus came along, it's like that meme of that guy with the girl and the guy looks over his shoulder. That was me. Yeah, I was ready, mate.
Ladies, take note. Patrick is not loyal.
No, I wouldn't do that with a girl because I don't want to get slapped up or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had enough slapping this week and all that for a lifetime.
Patrick only got eyes for Maz, right?
I don't know who she is.
Hashtag better than usual.
Maz, if you're listening, you got a little admirer.
Yeah, he's got two of them if we're talking about our guys. Jesus.
As long as if he talks about Mariana like he talks about Bruno Fernandes, then she's golden.
Oh my lord, yeah. Get you someone who looks at you the way Patrick looks at Bruno Fernandes getting that.
His goal.
If she can only color her hair green.
I got my eyes on the ball.
All right, so
if she can only color her hair green, that's it. It's over.
That's gross.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. I totally forgot. Anyway,
what? You can't color your hair green? What's the matter with that?
You can, but it's not a very nice color, is it?
All right.
Essentially,
there's all different
let me
tones
just
of green.
summarize my point.
Yeah, you need to wrap it up. We need to wrap it up.
Yeah, just to summarize my point, we live in an environment where there are 3 teams that want to win the league, and from that perspective, all that we can do is build the conditions for our teams to go on to win the league. We have no right to do it because Benfica and Porto or whatever side of the coin you're on, these teams are trying just as hard as you to win the league. So at the end of the day, only one team can cross that line. This year it was Porto, and we have to accept and move on. That doesn't mean that just because you haven't won, you've done everything wrong. And that's, to me, that's the position. Just looking at the football that's being played, that's the position I take up with the president and Jorge Jesus, and I would have carried that on into the next season had everything been relatively normal, which it isn't. So,
Patrick, I have a question for Peter. If you had the opportunity to choose between Rui Vitoria or Cableira, who would you want?
That's tough. No, it's tough because I like JJ's football better, but I also know that Rui Vitoria will work well with what you give him for most of it, and he doesn't. I would just how about a slightly more aggressive version of Rui Vitoria? Like if he needs
slightly more.
Yeah, if he needs something, he
looked pretty aggressive in those press conferences lately.
Yeah,
someone stroked a nerve.
Not there.
Yep.
I don't like.
You're always asking things with second intentions. If you're gonna keep asking with second intentions, then I'm not gonna answer you. Listen, I would like.
Yeah, fans want to know. They want to know your opinion. Do you want Cableira or do you want Rui Vitoria? Who do you want?
If I can choose a better version of Rui Vitoria, I'm going with Rui Vitoria anyway. There you go.
Like their soccer. You like his soccer?
Definitely. I think that when we're playing on all cylinders, we play very good football, and I enjoy it.
So you think that the soccer that Rui Vitoria plays, or the teams that Rui Vitoria plays, is better than Cableira's?
The hassle. I'm not saying that. I just don't think he's worth the hassle. I don't think he's worth paying the money that he's getting paid, and I don't think he's worth spending the money on players that he wants. I'm not saying he's not the better. He doesn't have the better football. I'm saying he's not worth the hassle, and I would much rather have Rui Vitoria play slightly worse football, but still get results, and not hamper my future.
AJ's our ex-wife. I'm not going back to him.
No, if
He
JJ,
might go back.
no, if JJ said,
No, thank you.
if JJ said, "Hey, I understand why I left. I'll take a pay cut. I won't ask for X, Y, and Z all the time. Like I won't ask for 10 million euro players."
He got
I
rid
would
of
take him back.
Cardozo. He got rid of Bernard Silva. He did a lot of
He
bullshit
didn't
too.
get rid of
So.
Cardozo.
That's the
Cardozo,
president.
Well, no, but he was the reason Cardozo's.
no. Cardozo's Benfica's crutch for most of that first part of the season. He
No,
scored.
no.
What about-
JJ is the reason Cardozo left. You know that.
No,
And he didn't leave. He got pushed out
No, he didn't.
for
He's the one that
insubordination.
saved him in the last year.
Doesn't matter.
Cardozo's the one that saved him in his last year.
He got pushed out by LFE for insubordination to JJ in that damn game.
No. That is
No.
Thinking you're wrong.
No, Cynthia,
No,
you're
nada,
wrong
querido.
because no, I'm telling you because the last season that he played, the last season under Cableta, Cardozo was your key player. He was the Mitroglou of the time.
And JJ's the reason he had to go. He yelled at JJ
One
in
day
the damn game.
when Cableta
You guys
left,
don't remember this.
No,
He
you're
grabbed
wrong.
JJ
Well,
and turned him
Cableta
around.
He didn't. He played that season. He played after that year. Both
yeah, he
guys-
played that year. He had to take Cableta had to swallow the pill, and he had to accept him
Yeah,
back.
and Cardozo.
I remember that clearly.
With a great goal against Estoril, for example, and so on and so forth. Cardozo was vital to that part of the season until he switched to Rodrigo, and Cardozo's still vital anyway. Cardozo's
Rodrigo played 1 year and then he got sold right away.
No, Rodrigo. Yeah, but Rodrigo started to play that year, I think. And
No. That was
There's a lot of no,
2013-14, bro.
unless he was Jean.
2013-14.
Hold on. I'll double check.
I'm not holding on nothing. Cardozo's gone because of him. Bernard Silva's gone because of him.
You're wrong on that one. Sorry.
We're done. We're
Bernard
done. I'm done
Silva?
with the ex-wife. I don't want him back.
Yes.
It was Luis Felipe Vieira.
No,
Listen.
Patrick. It's called Orelhas.
Yeah, sorry, but you're wrong.
Correct your pronunciation of
You're
LFE.
wrong. I'm right. So listen, Cardozo started the new season after his teammates did a controversy, blah, 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 blah. But then he returned. He scored goals against Guimarães, Estoril, and Nacional that were vital to keep Benfica in the title race. And then he scored 3 goals against Sporting on a 4-3 win, I believe the Alvalade. But anyway, he ended up getting hurt, though, for 2.5 months, and that's when he started to play Lima and Rodrigo, which Cardozo was vital for most of the season until January or so. That's when he got.
What season did he leave?
2014.
Cardozo left
I find
in
it interesting
2014.
that we've had an injured Salvio for years and it doesn't matter. Cardozo gets injured and it's convenient to get rid of him. You're right. I must be smoking the conspiracy.
I'm
pipe
sorry.
over here.
I'm Cardozo's biggest fan. I love Cardozo. He's my favorite player.
I think your favorite coach is the reason he had to go.
And you're wrong. And
All right, that's your opinion.
Yeah, and I think but I'm not the only one that thinks that. So at least
That's all right. Doesn't mean that the mass majority can't have a wrong opinion.
I'm just saying that, Bruno.
He's the reason Bernard Silva left. You want to debate that one too?
No, of course not. Why are you trying? I'm not here
Because-
to defend JJ. I'm not defending JJ, goddammit.
I don't know.
A couple of minutes ago, you were having a brain aneurysm over him.
I'm done. Like, we got to close out the pod anyway. Nobody's understanding my point, so I'm just going to get out of here. I'm done. I don't want to argue with this anymore because you guys aren't understanding what I'm trying to say. Anyway, we'll be back.
Bruno asked if you'd take him back. Yes or no?
No, I said Rui Vitoria. Unless he decides to take a major pay cut and learns and does what Vitoria does, that's when
Everyone has a price, so Peter's price is as long as he takes a pay cut
and plays the Rui Vitoria role. That's the only way I'll take him back. But anyway,
that wouldn't happen. But okay,
I wouldn't take him back at all.
I hope
Ex-wife,
you're
stay ex-wife. Bye.
Anyway, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Bruno, for coming on. We gotta go because it's been past 2 hours. So anyway, we'll see you
We're
guys.
defending JJ.
All right. So peace out.
Bye, everybody.